Excellent. So I think that's everybody that's back in the bigger Zoom room. So welcome back. Oh, there's still a little bit of checkerboard movement. So I'll give it another moment here. All right. So we've got about 38 people in today's session. I think that's most of you back. This is going to be a quick and simple wrap around here. Who was in a group where everybody wanted to go to the same place, do the same things, and be with the same kind of people? If that was the case, raise your hand. And safe to say nobody's raising their hand. Did anybody want a staycation and stay home on their vacation? Probably not. Okay, maybe in the past, 2 years ago, possibly, but not this year. All right. So we like to do that exercise as a warm-up just to demonstrate a little bit about what we do, because our organization, we work with Health and Human Services again, but we really help to design people's experiences. And we support people from a wide variety of groups and individuals. And it just demonstrates we all have preferences. We all have things that we like to do and how we go about them and who we like to be with, etc. So designing one experience as a fit all is not going to happen. And so keep that in mind as we continue our way through the Withology Lab. All right. So if you had fun in that first breakout, guess what? You get to go back with the same people. And we're going to throw you right into a second activity. And this is a design activity. All right. So I'm going to move that along on my screen over here. I am a bit visually impaired here. All right. So the second breakout activity, I'm going to read along to what we have written here. So all of you are clothing designers working for competing labels, Balmain, Alexander McQueen, and Vivienne Westwood. Together, we are going to read through Avery's email because you're going to be designing an outfit for Avery. In breakout groups, you will work together to respond to Avery's email and design an outfit option. Be prepared to share your designs with the large group in 7 minutes. So your group has just received an email from Avery. Let's take a look at what Avery has to say. Hi, I'm Avery, and I'm in a pinch. I'm getting married next week. No, it's not a shotgun wedding. I'm just following my heart here. The good news is that I have a healthy budget. The bad news is the wedding is next week, and I want to look jaw-dropping awesome. I'm 35 years young. I'm 5'7". My weight is a firm 145 pounds. Red's my favorite color. Oh, and I have a prosthetic leg. And the wedding is in sunny California. As you can see, I'm reaching out to my favorite designers to do a mock-up. I need the designs in about 7 minutes as I'm on a layover and must board my flight shortly. Sadly, there's no Wi-Fi on the plane. So I'll take a look at the designs and I will only have time to get back to the top choice before boarding. Do your best, Avery. All right, so if you're pretty clear there, what I am going to ask, this is a creativity conference, so we do want there to be a sketch that comes in from each of the groups of Avery's outfit. So hopefully you've got a pen. Hopefully one of you might have a red pen, hint, hint. And off you go to your groups, and we'll see you in about 7 minutes. Have some fun with it.
Thanks, Mrs. Nicole's mom. All right, we're all back.
Awesome. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had fun with that exercise. I know there's a lot of people that like to get creative with pens and pencils here. So those of you who were the artists, can I get you to hold your designs up in front of your camera? Okay, so Beth Miller's got one. I'm going to start with Beth Miller. What can you've got like 30 seconds, 20 seconds to tell us, Beth, about your design. So Beth Miller,
sorry, my mute. I kept trying to mute and it kept blowing the screen away.
No worries.
So we decided that this is a woman who is a little adventurous.
You're muted.
Beth, you're muted again.
unmute. Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me now? All right,
Yeah.
so she a little adventurous. She wanted red in her dress, but we wanted to keep it still traditional. So though it looks like it's a pencil, it's actually a white dress with a red interior along the slit and an accent a swath of fabric around her waist. She's a little taller, so her length is going to be great. And she's not ashamed of her prosthetic leg, and we wanted to move easily. So we put a slit on her dress on that side so she could move easily and not get tangled in her dress and still be super
Okay.
glam.
Awesome.
We did an asymmetrical one shoulder, and which echoes the bottom, which is open slit.
Wow. So she's a swath and an echo, and Beth was a designer in your past life. I love it. That's great. Okay. Who else has one? Let's see another one. Lindsay Burr, tell us about your design quickly.
All right, we didn't know if Avery was a male or a female, so and since she said sketches, we did two. We did the one that's a red suit with a cropped sleeve and a cropped like mid-calf tapered pencil pant, and then since budget is no matter, of course, rubies and diamonds a bit on the lapels and also on the sleeves. The other and glam buttons. And we thought that if they're doing photos outside, there could be a lovely blouse or shirt underneath, and that could go with strappy sandals, pumps, or a sockless loafer. We also designed kind of more of a kaftan flowy port up almost, with also rubies and diamonds, and that could be with a flowy pant or not, as Avery prefers.
Awesome. Okay, so a little bit of flexibility with the design. We have time for one more. Anybody dying to share off their artwork? Okay, quickly. Deb Williams, you're like, I show. Yep. So go ahead, Deb. Tell us about no?
So our team also wasn't sure on gender, so we went with a linen kind of two-piece thing with the top that had very flowy sleeves, also rubies, because we thought in terms of expense not being an issue and trying to fancy it up. We wanted it to be really flexible for the day. So the outside isn't necessarily red, but the inside is reversible on the top. And then there would be red sandals involved. And also, we were talking about adjustable clothing, how sometimes you can buy clothes that you can zip off and have for different heat levels of the day. So we thought we would make it optional. So everything about what the team worked on was, how might we make this flexible, adjustable, even like if if they wanted to flip which side was having a different hem, they could do that as well. So
okay, awesome. I love it. So we'll just go with the three, recognizing everybody else I'm sure has amazing designs among your team of designers. But I'm sure what we're noticing about all of them is that they're different, right? So they're all different. And there's a reason for that. So does anybody want to jump in and tell me what would have made this design activity easier or better for your team? What would have helped you along? Deb Williams, you're unmuted, so I'm going to pick on you. And I know you, so I'm going to pick on you. What would have made it easier, the process?
Definitely being able to speak to the person and ask questions would have been great.
Okay, yeah. So having a conversation with them would have been great. Anybody else? Anything else? I see Katie's writing in the chat space here. Yeah, if you could have Avery in the room with you, right at the design table, giving some input. Excellent. So I'm going to go with what Katie's typed there as a segue. Yeah, so this could have been Avery, right? Based on the information that we gave you. Although I think the guy's probably taller than the 5'7", like he looks a little taller than 5'7". But anyway, goes to show you from what we told you, any of these outfits, wedding outfits could have worked, right, based on the information. So really having more information about people when you're designing for someone, and especially more moving beyond, well, this is important, an actual outfit, but an experience, well, let's get them to the table. So I'm happy to share with you now, this is a great lead in to Withology. And we did provide SIPSI with this handout. So if you're at this session, this is available to you, so you don't have to take notes or anything. And And people-minded business, we are the creators of Withology, and you're going to see some real similarities here. We have borrowed from the best of a variety of processes that involve creative problem solving and design. So really our mission is to revolutionize who has a seat at the table. And how we're doing that is in this 4-step process. So the W stands for who. In human services, people that reach out and use human services often have things that are unique about them and certain needs that they need to meet. So we look at who has a stake in the opportunity that's presenting itself or the challenge at hand that needs solving. And then once we've identified who, and often we really, obviously it's the end user, so the person using the supports, sometimes it's their family members, and it might, often it is the employees, sometimes it's board members, and also maybe members of the community. So who has a stake in this opportunity? And you guys know the drill here. Then we have to find out, clarify what matters most to these stakeholders about the opportunity or challenge. So that's where we do the applied research, right? So we have those in-depth conversations. We've gotten creative recently. We set up a phone like you would in Crime Stoppers, where people can phone it at any time. And this is an agency where there's a lot of families working different hours, and we really want their input. And they can't join a focus group at a certain time because when they aren't at work, they're busy supporting the person that receives support at their home. So we've set up this phone, and they can phone at any time of the day and provide their input about what matters most to them about the service that we're working to make improvements to. So we get creative with how we get that data. And then we frame the challenge. What is it? How might we? In what ways might we? And which we learned at CIPSE. So I really want to hats off to this organization. And then once we've clarified, of course, then we move into that ideate and generate together. So we have taken some of the more common ideation tools, and we've twisted them and made them as accessible as possible to the people that we support through the process. We do work with a number of people that would have sensory impairments, mental health, disabilities, and a variety of other groups. So we twist those tools and techniques and get into that ideation phase. Once we've designed it, we use design labs. Lately, all of our work's been virtual as of late, of course. And we use a design canvas. We come up with the concepts, and then we build out a try it canvas. So the T in with is for try it. In health and human services, there is, like most places, there is resistance to change, but people can get pretty close and married to the way they do things. So it does help to frame it as a try it. And we've added on the H is how are we doing and how did we do? So importantly, we design at the front end when we're doing the concept map. What is it? How are we going to measure success? And outcomes measurement is often required of human services to get funding from the likes of a United Way or government. So with that in mind, we build that in so that we make sure we can measure the outcomes. And that's often through a story, as well as things like family diaries and a variety of ways of doing that. So that is the Withology process in a nutshell. And now we're going to take you, so the next slide there, I asked Tia to put this in because, again, this was a very much grounding for us was the CPS process. And certainly it is threaded throughout what we do. And certainly the people that we've met through CIPSE have really guided the development in the way that we do things. So again, really appreciate the sharing that goes on through this organization. And then you'll also see elements of design thinking in there. And with design thinking, for us, it was moving beyond empathizing and actually bringing the people in to have the conversation, because I don't have a developmental disability, so I don't know what that's like. And to be able to step into those shoes is very difficult, if not impossible. So what's at the core of our work is, as Katie was saying, is to bring them at the design table and have them be part of the working group. So Withology really is, it's the art and science of inclusive consultation, collaboration, and co-creation. And human services have really evolved over time from 2-4 to with spectrum, if you will. For many years, people, the people that we work with did live in institutions where treatments were done to them. We hope that was done in good intentions. Often it was, but things were done too for the sake of curing or helping, solving. And then it moved away into community services where people were cared for. And that was a good thing. There was a real evolution happening, and things were done for people and moved into doing and giving them choices. And really where we're trying to push that envelope further is moving them into the with space. And let's do it together and design the supports you want at the front end versus weighing in on what others have designed for you afterwards. So that is really the essence of the evolution of human services, and why we think it's extremely timely with the world finally waking up and focusing on diversity and inclusion. The world's ripe and ready for with and withology. So I mentioned we work with many marginalized communities. So I'm going to have Nicole, if you want to lead us through this next breakout activity.
Okay, thank you, Janine.
You're welcome.
Marginalized communities can often be left out of the conversation. So let's begin by acknowledging some of the communities that are sidelined. In your groups, come up with a list of marginalized groups or communities of people. At the 5-minute mark, you will return to the big Zoom room to share your list. See you when you come back.
All right, we're all back.
Okay, so welcome back. We'd like to hear one community that your group identified. Lindsay, would you like to start?
And that was that Lindsay?
Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, I wasn't the note keeper. Sorry. So we started with LGBTQIA.
Oh, wow. Fascinating. All right. Amy, would you could I hear one same rules applies. Can you say
I was
one?
actually Lindsay's team, so I don't know if you want to call on a different team.
Or is it me?
Amy Shanahan.
Sorry.
Amy,
Amy.
someone hand.
All right, well, we had a long list, but I'm gonna pick one, Nicole, just like you said, and I'm gonna hope my team is okay with what I pick. Homeless people.
Wow, that's, you've hit it right home. Wow, okay. Marquis Tornett. Martina, would you like to go next?
Yes, our group picked frontline workers.
Frontline workers, awesome. Okay, Mark, would you like to go next?
People who have lesser financial means.
Wow, awesome. And Deb Williams, will you like to go next?
Of course. We said people with learning disabilities, because you can't see it really. You don't know necessarily, right? So
You're right, absolutely. And Katie,
AG.
Katie,
We said children.
children. Well, that's interesting. Wow, okay, thank you. Thank you for participating in this activity with me. Now back to you, Janine.
All right, thanks, Nicole. So yeah, as I mentioned before, so this is just probably just a few of many of the list of groups that you're able to generate. And again, we work with many people that would fall probably in some of those groupings that you've identified. And what I thought would be really helpful is we all like to sort of learn by example and get a better sense of how Withology might work with different groups. So we have permission from a number of people that have been involved in our projects to share some of their involvement and what it looked like. So here, we're happy to introduce you to a young man named Hudson. And Hudson has what's called Tourette syndrome, and he is supported by an organization to live semi-independently and to access community and so forth. He has been taking part in some Zoom virtual design labs, and what the organization was looking at is rather than reopening congregate day supports once the COVID restrictions are lifted here in Ontario, how might they make better use of their community and not just rely on the agency, but other natural supports, build those into people's experience. So this organization is actually, it is situated in an area where there are a lot of apples and apple orchards, as well as wineries. And so Hudson was part of the ideation and came up with the idea of a virtual hub. And the idea was that each service in the community, or it doesn't even have to be a service, but services, businesses, and so forth, would be represented as a tree. And then together they would be an orchard, create a community orchard. And that those apples would be offerings or things that people, what they have to offer the community and things people can participate in or engage in. And when they were designing out the concept, he said, can I go away? And next week when we meet, I'd like to bring back the prototype. So what you see is Hudson had created a prototype, and on the ladder, he had written down the values, the principles that would be necessary to get people to actually elevate and get them to a place where they would welcome people like himself to participate. And that was all on his own. So that was a really cool project. And now we've gotten funding for to actually explore and potentially develop this platform. So that's Hudson. And then this fellow here, his name's Donovan. And Donovan, again, gave us permission to use this. He's a younger teenage guy. He's about 13 years old. He's pretty tall for his age. And he also has been participating virtually. Donovan receives respite services at a place called Weekend with Friends. And it's kind of cool. They're in the process. They had a home for years where they've had kids come for after school respite and weekend respite. And these kids have developmental disabilities, learning disabilities, sensory impairment, and other things going on for them. So with this project is they're actually got some more property, and they're going to build a new home. And what was really cool is Donovan and his mom are part of the working group. And through the process, we were just at that front end of gathering the what matters most data. And we asked Donovan if he would like to have those conversations with his buddies, the other teenagers that are at the home who he hangs out with when he's there. So he gathered the data through conversations. We helped shape the questions with him. And one of the things that came out of it was what mattered most to them was the outdoor space in the home. And that in the old house, it's just swings and slides and things for little kids. But these kids have grown up using weekend respite. So what the youth said is, what if this new build also has gym equipment outdoors for the teenagers? So it was really cool. They halted the landscaping and they had to build in, and they got approval to actually have some outdoor exercise equipment for the teens. So even before we got beyond that, already they were breaking ground and making some shifts. So that's Donovan, and he's still very active in process. This example is a bit different. So Tori is the young woman on the left there, and that is her behavior therapist, Tom. And Tom is carrying Tori's pink backpack. And Tori's pink backpack became the symbol of this project, which was they wanted to redesign how they provide clinical supports to people with developmental disabilities and mental illness and autism. And one of the things they found is there's a huge wait list in the province for those kinds of services. And so this organization, Bethesda, brought us in. We were with them for over 2 years doing this project. It intensely involved the people that use the supports and staff and family again. And one of the things they want to do is how might we decrease the wait list? And also the backpack was very symbolic because Tori's thing was, how can we take some of this actual weight off my back? Because her backpack was so filled with assessments and the paperwork that she has to cart around and share her story again and again. So one of the things, we changed the intake process. At the end of the day, it became the welcoming. And it went from being an 18-page assessment with hundreds of questions. And we got it down to 1 page with 5 key questions with the input of the people, the families, and the clinicians. And then the clinicians, I can honestly, that was the hardest work, is clinicians are pretty specialized, right? So they're kind of like this in their work. So introducing a more flexible way and more just-in-time supports, we were able to decrease the first year, the waiting list with these changes, take 400 people off the waiting list. So a really good project that happened here. And again, different focus, different people. Last and not least is Josh. So Josh is just awesomeness. That's him on the left. That's our co-creation group in the middle there. That's just me at the other end of the table from Josh, but you can see those are all their ideas. And we had a great thing going. This was right before COVID. This is a respite service for kids. It's in Toronto, and they wanted this building was going to be knocked down 5 years from now and replaced, but in the interim, the agency, Community Living Toronto, was really committed to making changes in the meantime because it just wasn't good enough the way things were. So Josh actually did a pre-video, and he took us through a tour. We organized it. We came up with the idea with him. And it was videotaped. At first, he wanted to wear a GoPro, but it was going to be a bit too jostly. So we actually hired a videographer, and he does a tour of the pre-work. And then we spent a Friday evening as family members were dropping their kids off. And as they were picking them up, we were walking out and getting the What Matters Most data as they were kind of jumping in their cars. So it was very dynamic project, and it will pick up again when COVID lifts. So that gives you some examples of Withology in motion. All right. So I'm going to pass it back to Nicole, who's going to take you through the next activity.
Thank you, Janine.
You're welcome.
You have just heard examples of how we have used Withology. Now, how about you? In breakout groups, discuss when you might use Withology in line of work. See you back in 5 minutes.
We're all back.
Okay, thanks. Welcome back. I'm going to call on each group to provide one example of how Withology could be used in your workplace. Let's start with Lindsay Burr.
One of the ways that I thought it could be used in my workplace, I do interpersonal communication, organizational development consulting. And oftentimes I ask the client, what are you interested in having the outcomes be for whatever workshop I'm creating? And it kind of re-engaged the thought of who do I want to talk to, or who might I talk to before starting the design, and also potentially including them in the design a little bit more thoroughly. And also asking them which groups they see themselves as part of, not just marginalized, but also dominant communities. So that way they're bringing all of those perspectives forward when we talk about those pieces, and not just, can you represent your one marginalized group that is why your manager picked you? So kind of thinking about it a little bit more holistically. So that was my thought for my work.
That's a good point there. Thank you for sharing. Amy Shanahan, would you like to go next?
All right, I'm gonna pick my own idea or a thing because I don't want to botch up the wonderful ideas that other people have because their work life, I can't describe as well as they could. I'm actually doing a Summer of Big Ideas with Dawn D. Pasquale, who's one of the SIPSI speakers this year, and has been probably for every year, it seems. She and I are doing a Summer of Big Ideas with a group of directors who are in the substance use disorder and behavioral health care field. So I can see the dress design idea and then this infographic as a part of a visual aid that we could use with them to consider how they engage people who might not be at the table that they haven't thought of.
Oh, thank you, and great of applying that from the first activity of designing with Every. I like that. Martina, Dante.
Hi. Yes, thank you. So we tackled the problem of faculty hiring and thought about bringing to, how do we bring more people to the table that are not on that search committee, which looks very all the same, very white and male. So we talked about, if there aren't, if we can't find them in that level, we go lower and we invite graduate students and undergraduate students from underrepresented underrepresented minorities, or even any of the lists that we came up with, to be in the conversations. And so maybe it just starts with having a voice, but maybe they end up also having a vote and a say. So expanding that table.
Awesome. I love it when you apply that. Deb Williams, would you like to go next?
Yes, I would. Thanks. We had a bunch of different ones, but the first one that is easiest to explain, I think, is someone who works with medical devices, and not just interviewing or talking to doctors or the purchasing departments of hospitals, but rather getting patient involvement in it. So that, for example, if they have arthritis and they need to use an inhaler for their asthma, we're taking into account what they need in order to be able to get the medicine inside. So.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mark, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you, Nicole. Our themes that came up in our group parallel what's been said by both Deb and Martina just now. For parallel with Deb is bringing in people, a few of us are researchers, and bringing in people, making sure we're talking to a wide enough range of people who customers, potential customers, is looking at products, services, brands, things like that. But parallel to what Martina was saying about hiring, the people that we work with, whether it's an HR perspective, whether it's freelancing, whether it's just work colleagues, making sure that we are as open as possible to finding different ways, the different ways that people think, that diversity in that realm, as well as diverse experiences that they bring to the table.
Well, thank you, Mark. And Katie, would you like to go next?
Yes, thanks. So Walt talked about designing with his students for a college class. And he was saying that at the institution where he works, they have a large population of students who are in the military. And so that those students may have some different needs. And so designing the course with those students to be able to make sure that the term and the content all is relatable to them. And then another great one that we talked about was when providing accommodations, making sure that they actually do their jobs. So Michelle talked about sometimes for people who are hearing impaired, the captioning is so small that nobody could possibly read it. And the speakers go so quickly that it again goes so fast. So working with the people who are receiving that accommodation to make sure it actually does the minimum job it was designed, it's intended to do.
Fabulous, thank you. As you can see, there is no limit to the use of mythology. It can be applied to a variety of situations. All right, there was a video next, and as a team, people-minded business, enjoy collaborating. We had a lot of fun collaborating on the Wizard project and producing this video. It is the team that works together to generating ideas and accepting diversity that is able to find the solutions to solve the problem. Okay, Janine.
So that was a fun project that we worked on, and Nicole was a big piece of us being able to pull that video off. So thank you, Nicole. Getting back to sort of walking the talk, with our work, we feel it's really important that we honor what we do. And it's interesting, I want to share with you that how Nicole became an associate consultant with PMB was actually through a hiring process, but not hiring Nicole intentionally, but rather reaching out to what's called Community Living Ontario. We reached out to the Self-Advocacy Council to see if they knew of somebody that might be interested in helping us hire consultants, because we're a growing team, which what's great is our work is catching on. So they said, well, we actually have a woman who's on our council, Nicole Flynn, who probably would be able to help you out with that. So we met Nicole, it was virtually. Hey, Nicole, the first time we met?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it was on screen, and she was up for it. So once we'd shortlisted for our full-time consultant position, Nicole hopped on those shortlist interviews and helped us choose a fellow named Eitan. He's not part of it yet. He wasn't around when we made that video a year ago. It'll be almost a year. And you'll meet him at SIPSI when it's in person. We're gonna come as a team. Anyway, but yeah, so Nicole interviewed the shortlisted people. And one of the things I'll share that was interesting during that interview is, Eitan was very comfortable, with the questions. And I think, Nicole, you asked him how comfortable are you chatting with me? And he said, well, I've never worked with somebody with Downs before. And it was interesting because when we debriefed, Nicole said, he used Downs. I don't really like that, but we can change his language. That's easy. Other than that, he made me feel really comfortable. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I
so
remember.
it was just really insightful. We had a really good day of interviewing people, and then we brought Nicole on as an associate, and the areas that you've helped us out in are a number of projects, and Nicole's going to tell you about one of them now. I do want to mention Nicole helps us go through our written materials so that we use plain language, and has helped facilitate so that people can really understand the work that we're doing. So a lot of her talents have definitely improved what we're doing, and she's a key part of our team. All right, so where we got Nicole involved in co-leading a project is with Tia, who's here on the controls today. Tia, wave, because you deserve a huge mention here. So they co-led a project recently called With Inspiration. You will all sort of understand what this is about, being facilitators. And but what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a deck of unique and fascinating photographs so that we could use them in our work. For ideation purposes, for checking in, those kinds of things. I know I'm sure a lot of you use cards. And what we found is people, when we're in ideation sessions, a lot of people with disabilities would say, I like taking photos too. I'd love to show you my photos. So that's when the light bulb went on for us for this project. And we'd been meaning to do it, and it just took the right people to come along and lead it, which is Tia and Nicole. So the project created a deck of unique and fascinating photographs to use in our work while showcasing the talent of people with a disability, and have their art be the catalyst for creating positive change. And as well, they're paid for their artwork as well as for each of the deck of cards that are sold. So it's a social enterprise arm of our business as well. So Nicole, why don't you share with the group? We used Withology, the WITH, and Nicole's going to take you through that.
Thank you, Janine.
All right.
Following the Withology process, let's start with who was involved. Tia, project colleague, and myself worked on this project together. We wanted the photo card deck to have a social purpose, and we had heard from many people who have a disability when using other photos that they also love photography. We invited people who have a disability to the table to inspire others, share their perspectives, and educate the public. Next, we ideate a lot. Janine presented the idea as a PMB dream at the time of our SIPC proposal. We thought this would keep us accountable to make sure it happened. We had many brainstorm sessions to come up with the name, how to promote it, and how to make it accessible. In February, we filmed lots of content for promotion and finished the website and launch plan. In March, the project launched, and we received our first submission the very next day. We shared our projects with many of our clients in developmental services and posted a bunch on social media. The next step in the work process is to try it out. This video was created to introduce the product and how to participate.
Do you like photography and taking pictures? How would you like for your photos to be displayed for the world to see? PMB is creating a deck of creative photos we are calling With Inspiration. These cards are used with people who receive supports, their families, friends, employees, and the organizations they work for to generate ideas for creating positive change.
We use the photos on those cards to inspire new thinking. And we need your help to come up with some really great pictures.
Send us photos of cool things that you see. Nature, people, objects, animals, places, or really anything else that you think would be awesome on a card. We will display them all on our website for everyone to see. PMB will select 52 of them to put on our first ever With Inspiration card deck. If your picture is selected, we'll pay you for your artwork, and you'll receive a portion of the payment for each card deck sold. Here's what you need to do to get involved. Download and read the submission guidelines on our website.
And watch my photography tips. There's your link below.
Submit your photos on our website, which is also linked below with a how-to video.
If your photo is selected to be in the With Inspiration card deck, we will contact you after May 15th.
We are so excited that you're interested in submitting photos for PMBs with inspiration cards.
Thanks for watching. Thank you, Tia. So, how did we do? We had over 200 photos submitted by 73 photographers. Word spread about our project, and Janine and I were interviewed on several news channels, including CTV, Global, CBC, and Breakfast Television. Using the photos from the next 3 slides, let's ideate how we might make our work and communities more diverse and inclusive.
Thank you, Nicole. So that's great. So the photos you're about to see are 3 of the 52 photos that were chosen for the DECA 52. And we've just done the selections just so you know where the project's at. And we're in the process of getting them made up. So the question is, and we're just going to do this. If you have an idea, we're going to look at you guys know how this works with ideation. We're going to show you the photo. Let's sit with it. And if it stirs up an idea on how might we make our work or communities more diverse and inclusive, just unmute yourself and toss it out there. Let's see what we might surface using the photos. This photo as well, this was taken by a young fellow who has autism.
Is there any ideas?
Finding ways to get our ideas to bleed into one another's.
Look at the delicious aspects of diversity.
See what bubbles up.
Blend ideas so that you take the best of each and come up with something more beautiful.
Serve breakfast.
Create a diverse flow.
Take a fuzzy gaze in the distance.
Yellow up first.
I'm wondering too, I've never used the card for this purpose yet, but I'm thinking, what if you made candies that sent messages? Remember love hearts? Does anybody remember love hearts that had little messages? You could have little diversity and inclusion messages on like a Skittle or something. Okay, let's go to the next photo. Okay. Any thoughts there? How might we make our communities more inclusive and diverse?
Take another point of view.
Think upside down.
Don't rest on your laurels.
Flip your opinions.
Keep the wall scrapey.
Pull up a chair and sit a while.
Chartreuse up.
There's beauty in the cracks.
Love it. Okay, one more photo here. So for those of you that have been in or from Toronto or have been to Toronto, that's the CN Tower.
Was there any inspiration with this photo?
The sky is the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Keep on looking up.
Well, I will share with you, Community Living Ontario, they actually, for May is Community Living Month in Canada, and they have the tower, the CN Tower is lit up blue and green, which is their logo colors for the entire month. So they'd approach the city so that the tower lights up with those colors.
Notice the beauty in different shapes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Puff it up.
Many layers to everything.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Excellent. Anything else? Because we are open to, I'm just looking at our time. We're at 2:22. That's good luck when you've got three numbers the same. So we just have a few minutes left, and Nicole and I wanted to make sure we had time. So thank you for that ideation. And that's fun to use our photos. Hey, Nicole, finally put them to use?
Yes, we finally did.
That's right. Yeah, pretty soon they'll be in hard form. Okay, so any questions for us?
I'll just make a comment that I think the picture idea and using it in facilitation with this twist is a really neat idea.
Okay, thank you.
Wouldn't it be great to sell your photo card deck and generate some money for your organizational projects?
Right.
Great idea.
Sipsy Bookstore Live 22.
There you go.
Yeah. Some information about the artist or photographer.
Yeah, so actually, our website is there, and we have the gallery of all of these submissions. So everybody that submitted, all 73 photographers, you can see their photos there. And then Nicole actually worked with Tim Herson. The two of them chose the photos together. And Nicole, you came up with the criteria for the photos, which ones to choose.
Yes, I did.
Now, do you remember them off the top of your head?
Unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah, I think one of them was like, it's unique.
Oh, actually, I do one thing. It's the wow moment.
Right. The wow effect. Yeah.
Yeah, the wow effect.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a wow effect. And then Nicole, one of the things we didn't mention, Nicole, Nicole used to have your own photography business. That isn't something you've worked at in the last while, because you also have been busy going to college and graduating from college.
Yes, that's true.
Right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nicole hung up her camera as a business, but so she brought in, when we were choosing the photos, the real photographer's expertise. And so things around lighting and that kind of thing, more the technical piece. And then Tim, of course, brought in the creativity lens to it, which was great.
Janine and Nicole, and actually Tia, probably mostly Tia, there was a question to go back to the width slide so that people can get a look at it.
Okay.
Maybe there could be a spot on your website, if not on the cards, of what the artist saw.
Yeah, so sorry, going back to that. So we've got them at the gallery, and we are asking people if they want to be profiled, like we had to choose them and get their, we were going to put a photo of them on the back of the card, but people might change their mind later and, you know, that sort of thing. So we are going to feature the photographers on our website if they want to be, with a bit of a profile about who they are. And, you know, there's one woman, I mean, she wrote me an email, and she's been deaf all of her life, but then more recently is legally blind now. And yeah, and we chose a photo of hers. It's a horse, and she, you know, and she's wanting to share her story. So just some real good inspiration. To say with inspiration is putting it lightly. There was some really heartwarming stories and information that came our way through this project. We are having a live exhibition once COVID restrictions lift. And we're actually having it at a microbrewery where it's massive, and we're going to host and have the photographers come and be there with their photos on display, and run a Withology lab for those interested in the morning. But yeah.
Yeah, art is such a great form of education.
It really is, isn't it? Yeah. One of the things we are going to do as well on the back of the cards, I want to be aware of time here. We are going to put letters of the alphabet. So what we have found in our ideation sessions that works particularly well with people with developmental disabilities is using from A to, we call it ideas from A to Z. And, we'll put the letters up on flip chart and then ideate around the how might we, and encourage, can we at least get, 20 some ideas out there. And it seems to really help and provide it with just enough structure. And everybody's familiar with the alphabet. So it has worked wonderfully. So we're going to put the letters instead on the backs of those cards so they have multiple purposes. Anything else? Nicole, do you have any parting words for anybody?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry. I think you did a great job. So thank you. All right. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. We're really pleased that you came, and hopefully you enjoyed the session. And if you want to leave us a word or two on your way out about how you're feeling at the end of the session, we would love that and appreciate it. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole and Janine and Tia. You guys, this was awesome. It was a wonderful session.